Oh, why hello there, and after my camera stops shaking, we'll continue. Anyway, hi, my name's Tommy. If you've seen me before, it's because I've been around in the angel arts community a little bit, about 2.5 years now. Anyway, my major claim to fame was that I played Rousseau in the Dragon Age Season 3 or Dragon Age Ascension campaign. I had an absolutely wonderful time in that campaign, made multiple lifelong friends, and I was introduced to an absolutely fabulous community. Now, with all that being said, this is a mock audition for a couple reasons. One, this is the final campaign Harks going to do at least for a while, so I would want as many new people to get that opportunity as possible. And then two, I kind of can't because I'm not allowed to, so give or take. But anyway, if you're auditioning, I'm really happy for you. Let's go ahead and get right on into the audition. So I'm going to start by explaining the real world and the video game world because that'll help better establish both the player and the video game character. So, and in terms of the world that this character lives in, it's very similar to our world. I would say that it's just a bit more advanced and has an alternate timeline, simply because I feel like you could do a lot of really cool things of an alternate history, and it gives you a lot more creative freedom with that. So, slightly different timeline, and then technology is just a little bit more advanced. It's not like everyone's playing video games with VR and everything else, but the games played from people's home consoles, PCs, and phones are much more advanced and interconnected than they've ever been before. So the architecture within the games is much greater and bigger, but it's still traditional gaming. Think dot hack vibes, if you will. So with that being said, let's go ahead and meet our player. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk players. Now, I really only have one player idea, and if I were seriously auditioning for this campaign, I wouldn't be super married to this character, but I really like this character, so for the sake of this fake audition, we're gonna go with him. The character I'm pitching is a young man named Clayton Reeves. Now, Clayton's from, like, Nebraska, Minnesota, or Wisconsin, one of the places that has the accent that's a little ridiculous, but I really love it. And pretty much Clayton grew up watching westerns with his dad, not having much social interaction, and dealing with a lot of like bullying issues and social anxiety in school and other things like that. So much to the point of where he's borderline stopped interacting with the real world and he uses the game as his escape. Now, this isn't healthy for Clayton, but he's come to the revelation that he'd rather not deal with that rather than confront it. So this is his escapism. It's where he gets a lot of his social interaction, is playing this game. Now, the interesting thing with Clayton is that there isn't just the social issues for him playing the game. It's also that he hasn't come out as homosexual, and he actually has started developing feelings for his friend that's in physical therapy, Aaron. And he's having a really hard time expressing this because he doesn't know what he's going to do if he's rejected, and pretty much every time he can, he tries to play with Aaron in their favorite game. And I feel like it would be a really interesting concept to do a coming-of-age story with a character dealing with social anxiety issues where they're helped by their virtual experience and then they use it to elevate their real-life experience. And that's why I really like Clayton as a character, and yes, he would go by the nickname Clay. Now, let's talk about Clayton's video game character. So, to properly introduce Clay's video game character, I think I have to flesh out the world just a little bit more. I have a rough 60% concept, and if this were a serial audition, I do have other ideas for it, but it's going to remain this undeveloped. But I feel like there's a lot of freedom with it, and you could do a lot with it. So, the world that Clayton plays within is an open-world MMORPG. But this MMORPG is very factionistic based, where these factions are all aware of each other, interact with one another often, and will attack each other, trade with one another, have alliances, wars, other things like that, and it becomes its own international economy and diplomatic state, away from our own international economy, diplomatic state, and everything else. So, within this world you have these factions. But the thing that I really love with it is that this is a living, breathing world, so every virtual character made within this world will start out young, grow up, grow old, and die if they aren't killed by anything else. Anytime someone dies in this game, they have to develop a new character. So with that being said, you have these characters that will live their lives to the fullest that they can within this game, and they're part of a unique faction, and these factions are wildly different from one another. Like, one would be like a medieval fantasy faction where there's like dragons, goblins, swords, and sorcery. Then another one could be like cyberpunk fantasy, where it's technology, augmentations, flying cars, but no magic. Then you have another one based off of like Western culture, like the Western movies of Clint Eastwood and John Wayne, or you could have another one that's like Lovecraftian based, Greek god based, mythos based. You could do so much with it, and I think it would be great because you could have every character come from a different faction and represent every genre and every style of a character holistically, and have them come together as a ragtag team. So with that explanation, let's talk Clay's character. Red-Eye Hex. That's right, Clay went with the Frontier faction. That's the Western world. And this is Clay holding on to his boyhood fantasy of wanting to be a gunslinging bounty hunter from when he watched those movies with his dad. Now, design-wise, I envision Hex as like a 50-50 fusion of Silas Greaves from Call of Juarez Gunslinger and Rex Power Cult from Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. Put together, and design-wise, that's how they look, so he would be a cyberpunk cowboy. Now, the reason that it started out this way was Clayton was very vehemently loyal to the Frontier faction, and became a very iconic bounty hunter for that faction. But, like I said, the characters grow old in this game, and Clay's been playing this game for a long time. So Hex is now getting up to his 70s, has a lot of injuries from doing this, and is starting to develop disease and health issues like cataracts that are making him go blind, missing an arm from a job that went bad, and things like that. So Clay's been very painfully watching his character suffer in game. So he did the one thing that he could to try to save and prolong Hex in the game, even though it was the absolute worst thing he could do for Hex. He committed faction betrayal and went to the Cyberpunk faction and got augmentations, upgrades, and things that would help Hex stay relevant in the game longer. But when he did that, he put a giant target on his back because everyone else that he hunted after in other factions are still going to come after him. Then his old faction, that he considered his friends and family, are coming after him too. So this is very much Clay coming to the realization in his coming-of-age story that he has to move on from this character, but he's very vehemently going to hold on to that character. And I would love to play Hex because it would let me do like a cool gunslinger character, but it also lets me illustrate that life story. And that would be the only video game and player character setup I would do. Unless if Hark lets me guest as either Dan the Man or Rodney from HP, I would have loads of fun doing those. But that's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see all the other remaining auditioners come forward. Now, if you're on the fence in terms of auditioning, I'm just going to urge you, please do. It's a situation where you have nothing but everything to gain and nothing to lose. And I say that because even if you don't make it to round 2 or you don't make it into the campaign, you're going to meet a lot of great people, and we're all going to support you no matter what, and it's going to be a fun time. But I understand the stress of putting yourself out there, so I'm proud of each and every one of you no matter what, and I can't wait to see you guys in the server. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed my mock audition.